You know it's officially summer when you look out the window and you see someone just paragliding. That will be the craziest thing I've seen all week. I didn't know people paraglided around here. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to today's video. Today I'm gonna be recommending 8 books you need to read this summer. These books may have like a beach vacation vibe or would be like the perfect read for the summer. So we'll be going over all those today. Should we turn on more lights? I feel like it's a bit dark. I think that helped. We have some popular and also not as well-known books here. So my plan is I want to give you guys quick synopsises of the books. Synopses, would that be the plural? And then I'll also give you guys my little reviews or extra commentary. That was my reminder. I have a reminder set at 12 p.m. on every Friday. I couldn't tell you why. I've had this for like ever. First up, let's talk about Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is my all-time favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid. Yes, I like this more than Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones. That might be an unpopular opinion, but it's the right opinion. You can't tell me otherwise. I absolutely loved this book. I actually read this in the winter time when it was literally snowing out my window, but I was instantly transported to Malibu. So in this book, we follow the Rivas on the day of their infamous end of the summer Riva party. But by the end of the party, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames. Oh no, so sad. How tragic. That is not a spoiler. The first line is literally Malibu catches fire. Now that's kind of all I knew when I went into this book. So I thought the main focus of this book was going to be like, how did this fire happen, as we try to figure out who's the arsonist. But boy, could I be wrong, because the fire is actually like a minor detail compared to everything else that goes on in this novel, because we mainly focus on the Riva siblings and the secrets and drama that have manifested in this family for generations. By the end of this book, I loved wholeheartedly every single sibling. I would do anything for them. Taylor Jenkins Reid makes these characters feel real and not just like fictional characters. My refrigerator's like buzzing. Anyways, the sibling dynamics, impeccable. There's lots of beach, surfing, palm tree imagery. Since this book takes place in Malibu, yes, Malibu Rising takes place in Malibu. What a concept. Next, let's talk about The Last Mrs Parrish. This is a bitch I'm gonna steal your life type of thriller. Our main character in here is Amber Patterson, and we follow her as she slowly starts to insert herself into the Parrish's life. On the outside, the Parrishes look like a perfect family. They're extremely wealthy. Jackson, the husband, is the founder of this very successful business, and Daphne, the wife, is like this gorgeous socialite. So Amber befriends Daphne, which is the first step in her plan, which she hopes will bring her money and power. Not only does the cover give off like poolside ocean vibes, but many scenes in this book take place near or on the water. Even at one point, the characters go out on the Parrish's boat. I loved this book, even though I guessed the big twist. I wasn't upset about it though. I was actually in the shower, and I don't know how far I was, but I was like probably in like the middle or something, and I was like, I bet it goes in this direction. And it did go in that direction. And I'm glad it did go in that direction, because I just think it made the book even more interesting. Next up, I have here The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I remember having a blast reading this book. At no point was I ever bored. So this is a rom-com that starts off at a wedding, specifically Olive Torres's sister's wedding. And unfortunately for Olive, the best man at the wedding is Ethan Thomas. But that's the least of her problems, because at the end of the wedding, everyone gets food poisoning except her and one other person. So she and this one other person are left with free tickets to Hawaii to go on the bride and groom's honeymoon. Now you're probably thinking that doesn't sound that bad, except the one other person that didn't get sick was Ethan Thomas, Olive's arch nemesis. Some tropes in this book include fake marriage because Olive and Ethan have to pretend to be married throughout this whole honeymoon. We also have enemies to lovers and the single bed trope. I could not put this book down. I was invested the whole time. If you want to be transported to Hawaii, this is for you. Next up, I have here The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. Now I did talk about this book in my May wrap up, so if you want to see like my complete thoughts on this book, then you can go watch that video. But basically we follow Meredith Fox as she attends her cousin's wedding at Martha's Vineyard, and there during the week-long game of assassin, she meets a groomsman and a relationship starts to form between them. One of my favorite parts of this book was the game of assassin. It was just so fun seeing the characters like always on edge and then planning on their next move. I actually have a shirt that reminds me of this book. I should have worn it today, but the cover's gorgeous, very aesthetic. Next up, we have The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. So this book can be read as a standalone, but it also follows characters that were in the Truly Devious series. So I do recommend you read that series before you read this, because you'll just have a way more in-depth reading experience. If you want a book that takes place at a summer camp, pick this one up. We follow Stevie as she investigates a cold case at this summer camp she and her friends were invited to as counselors. But as Stevie starts to investigate and stir up the past, she quickly learns that this might be much more than she bargained for, and she may be the next victim of this killer. This is a YA mystery, so it doesn't get like too sinister. So if you're not into like too much of that stuff, this might be a good option for you. Or maybe you just don't want something that frightening on your lovely, relaxing vacation. Next, let's talk about It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, and Sinker. This is technically a series. So Hook, Line, and Sinker is a romance that follows Piper, an LA socialite, think Alexis from Schitt's Creek. The author was actually inspired by Schitt's Creek, so Piper is literally Alexis. And after a crazy night out on the town, Piper gets shipped off by her father to a small fishing town where her birth father actually grew up, so she can get more humbled and learn the value of $1. But there she meets Brandon, or Brendan? Is it Brendan? Or is it Brandon? No, it's Brendan. Brendan. But there she meets Brendan, a grumpy fisherman who is totally different from the guys she is used to. So let's just say it is a surprise to both of them when sparks starts to fly between them. Oh my gosh, I just remembered this. But a few months ago when my grandma came to visit me at college and stay a few days at my apartment, in her free time, she decided to pick up a few books off my bookshelf to read. And what was one of those books? I still can't believe my grandma read a few of the scenes in here and never mentioned anything to me. Hook, Line, and Sinker, though, is the second book. You could read this as a standalone, but you might be confused a little bit, and you do see Piper and Brendan in this book too, so I recommend reading It Happened One Summer and then this one. But in the second book, we follow Hannah, Piper's sister, and Fox, Brendan's best friend, who is known kind of as a player in the town. You see a bit of their interactions in the first book, but in this one, we get like the whole shebang. I love how the prologue of this book is just text messages between Hannah and Fox. I think that is such a unique, cute aspect. Let's talk about another thriller now. This is The Perfect Wife by J.P. Delaney. This book starts off after Abby wakes up and she quickly learns from her husband, who is this famous founder of this innovative technology company, that she was in a terrible accident 5 years ago and she is now a robotic clone of his wife. It really starts off with a bang. So we follow Abby as she struggles with this realization and as she tries to figure out how the accident happened in the first place. But she quickly starts to question her husband's motives and his recollection of the event. I included this book because part of it takes place at their beach house. I actually read this novel a couple years ago and it was actually one of my first introductions to the thriller genre. And now I've read almost all of J.P. Delaney's backlist. I believe there's just one book by him I haven't read. So if anyone wants like a J.P. Delaney ranking video, let me know. Literally just one person commented and I will go pick up the last book I haven't read and film that for y'all. All right, so the last book I'll be talking about in today's video. This is kind of more of like a honorary mention because it was not like an all-time favorite read of mine. I did end up rating this book 3 stars, but for some people, this is their all-time favorite romantic comedy, and that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. So this follows 2 authors, January Andrews, who writes romance novels, and Augustus Everett, who writes manly literary fiction. I think that's the best way I can describe what he writes. So we start off with January moving into the beach house right next to Augustus, but the two of them don't really get off on the right foot. And after one thing leads to another, they strike up a deal to determine who's the better writer, where they basically have to swap genres and write said type of book. Although I did give this book 3 stars, I think what saved it from being like a complete flop for me were the field trips that the characters took each other on to help them gain inspiration for their books. They were really cute, I will say. What I didn't really like was the pacing. I just felt like the book dragged on and on. I remember thinking like, yeah, I get it. Can we just wrap this up? But can you just imagine how iconic it would be reading this book on the beach? You would literally be reading a beach read on the beach for your beach read. Wow, that would make a great Instagram caption. You're welcome, I'm giving that to you for free. Some people really enjoy this book though, so this might be an all-time favorite for you. It wasn't for me, but So I guess that was technically 9 books, but I kind of counted Hook, Line, and Sinker and It Happened One Summer as 1 book. All right, I think we can wrap this video up now. Those are my 8 summertime book recommendations. If you have any summer book recommendations for me or anyone else, make sure to leave them down in the comments below. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. It really does help me and my channel out a lot. I hope you all are having a fantastic day. Make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.